that the blockchain has many of them, and depending on who you are, what you do, what your interest is, then you're going to see it in one or two or three or different parts of it. In the same way that if I ask you today, what does the internet mean to you? You're each going to give me a different answer. Some of you will see it as a publishing platform. Others will see it as an e-commerce platform. Others will see it as a social media platform. And others just communicate on the internet. So think about it that way. Because the other thing is to think about the blockchain as another new layer on top of the internet that is at par with the web. So what came first? Like, this is a chicken and egg question. What came first, the web or the internet? The internet, right? So the internet before the web, it was very tedious to get on the internet and to send an email. I remember those days. I was on email prior to the web. And it was not easy. We had to worry about connecting computers before you really did anything. And the web came along, and you didn't have to worry about connecting computers. And then Java came along, and then we had a bunch of web applications. So I want you to think of blockchains as another very important layer on top of the internet that is now going to give us a variety of blockchain applications. And then these blockchain applications, some of them are going to be public, and some of them are going to be private, in the same way as we have internet applications that are public, and companies, financial services have many things going behind closed doors. And some of them will be totally pure blockchain applications, like OpenBazaar, for example, is a peer-to-peer e-commerce marketplace. It does not need the web. It does not use the web. It goes straight to the internet. So it's blockchain internet. So the peer-to-peer network is really bolted on the internet. Anybody, any peer, any user can conduct commerce with the other user, but just by virtue of that peer-to-peer network. And then we're going to have also some hybrid applications that have maybe 1 foot on the web and then 1 foot on the blockchain, where maybe it uses the blockchain to check on something, but then it gives you a web-facing application. So think about all this variety that is going to be possible. Another thing, next theme. If you can do it on a spreadsheet, don't use the blockchain. So this saying comes from Vitalik Buterin, who is the inventor of Ethereum. And he told me that when I used to sit down with him to have him explain to me the blockchain. And this is somebody, you know, he's 22 years old. And when he was a kid, his favorite toy was spreadsheets. So he used to play with spreadsheets when he was much younger. And then obviously this is just an analogy. So if you can maintain something on a spreadsheet, then don't use the blockchain. If it starts to get out of the way, out of hand, because at the end of it, really, the blockchain is a ledger. If you cannot maintain that ledger anymore and you need to get people on the same page, then use the blockchain. Another theme here that's very important. Let's not confuse science, research, and implementation. Because there's so much going on right now in the field of blockchain technology, and I should add, maybe some of it could be science fiction. So at the far left, you have science fiction, then science, then research, then you have proof of concept, then you have pilots, then you have testing, and then you have implementations. And then you have success sometimes. But I'm seeing some people want to just jump from science fiction to implementation. And what happens then? A lot of bad stuff would happen. What I'm saying here is that there are lots of smart scientists and researchers that are pushing the envelope and are still inventing how we're going to do this blockchain thing. But let's not confuse what works today with what might work in 3 years. And I think we have enough base technology that works today. Like proof of work is working today. When you hear proof of stake, you hear things like zero knowledge, you hear things like ring signatures, and you hear like really new words, state channels, and all of these, I can ramble off 4 other buzzwords. These are all still in the lab, and they are not ready for prime time yet, but they are taking baby steps. But we have proof of work that works. We can do all kinds of consensus methods. We can do private blockchains. And whatever works today, let's go and use that. And let's use what works and try to take it into a full implementation. That would be great for the whole field. And when you hear something is being worked on in the lab, then it is in the lab. It hasn't been tested yet. It hasn't been implemented without any bugs. That's why we have bugs. That's why we have situations like the DAO, because somebody heard Vitalik say, oh, would it not be nice if there was a DAO that could invest into all kinds of interesting projects, and they would be run autonomously without anybody in the middle. Sure. And then somebody said, okay, we can do this with 3 smart contracts. And then boom, crash. Okay, new model. So again, blockchain is not just about cryptocurrency. It is about inventing new models. That's where a lot of the startups are focused on. And the idea here is that cryptocurrency can also be a token that represents value as a result of some work that is being done. I'll give you 2 examples. There's a company called Lazuz. It's not out yet. They're still working on it. But it's an Uber equivalent. But the idea is that when you download the Lazuz app and you're driving, it's collecting some data about your driving habits. So it knows where you're going. It knows how much time you're spending driving. And that's useful data. So they give you Zuz points as a token of value. And then suppose the week after, now you want to ride. Instead of you driving, you want to ride. So you can use your Zuz points to catch a ride with somebody, with a driver, that's going to get paid with the Zuz points. So what I'm saying here, what I'm describing is a circular economy where you've created value out of thin air by just doing work or by giving your data. We all have lots of data about ourselves, whether it's driving habits, whether it's our health, vital signs, what we like, what we don't like. All kinds of data is there, and it's ready to be aggregated for higher value. And I think in the near future, we're going to be able to get value back for the data. Like, please take my data. I would gladly give my data if somebody gives me tokens back that I can reuse for another service. So companies that can figure out how to circulate those tokens. It's not just about earning them. It's about how you can spend them in the same economy. Steemit, steemit.com is another decentralized Reddit. It's a content site, but runs on the blockchain. But you wouldn't know it runs on the blockchain. It looks like a Reddit. You just put content, content gets upvoted, content gets shared, and the more your content gets shared, the more popular it is, the more you can earn. And you earn Steem points, tokens, that are worth real money. I was the first AMA on Steem last May. AMA is ask me anything, and it earned me about $6,000 of Steem dollars that I haven't traded them, but I can trade them over 2 years into real dollars. So they've created an economy, a mini economy of sorts, and there will be many models like that. So think about how you can think about all the loyalty points that are out there sitting, but we can't do anything with them. We cannot do too much with them. I shouldn't say anything. You can redeem them, but it could be more. But not just the points. I'd like to see more new models, like creating new value out of work that can then get recirculated. Blockchain is 90% governance and business models, and the other 50% is tech. It's not a typo. Yeah, it doesn't have to 100%. It's a bit of Yogi Berra for you. It is true. People forget that. We're so focused on the technology right now that we need to kind of stand back and see, like, what are we doing that's different? If we are just replacing a database, yes, it's one step. But are we really changing the business model? Are we doing something new? Are we doing something unique that we could not do without the blockchain? A lot of what I'm seeing right now, I'm not saying everything, a lot of what I'm seeing is a replication of what we are currently doing, but doing it a little bit better, a little bit differently on the blockchain. But that's how the internet started. When we first started with the internet, most web applications were a duplication of the existing world. And then we started to come up with new things that we can only do on the web. And gradually, we're going to see more and more applications that we can only do on the blockchain. And that will be a good sign. So when you look at what's going on, because I spend a lot of my time analyzing the market and trying to explain it to others and seeing the patterns, trying to connect dots together. And I see the division of activity into two parts. It's like a 2x2 matrix. So you can see I used to be a consultant. Public and private. Again, like the internet, there's a public blockchain, and there's going to be a lot of private blockchains. A lot of the banks, the consortiums are doing private blockchains, which is fine. But then when you look at what the blockchain is doing, it's doing two things. Either it's supporting the existing businesses, or it's creating new businesses. And I'm giving some examples. Don't hold me down here because these are just representative examples. I know I missed a number of them. But when you look at things like what R3 is doing and Chain, digital assets, they're all helping the banks to use the blockchain to save money, clear trades faster, improve a process. It's all about improving things. See, the banks don't want to disrupt themselves, but they'd happily improve themselves. You give them a project where they can save 10%, they'll go running and they'll do it. But startups, no, they want to create something new that did not exist before. And they start with 0 customers. Open Bazaar, again, as an example, disclosure, I'm an investor, I'm on the board. But they started from 0. They had 0 customers. Now they have 300,000 downloads. And they're creating a new thing. Clearmatics is a decentralized clearing network for derivatives for the over-the-counter market. It's not out yet, but they are starting from scratch, from 0. They're going to get traders, buy side, sell side, to come in to their network from day one. So these are the new models, and then some of them are supporting existing models. None of these quadrants are bad. There's no bad quadrants. There's no bad activity in the blockchain, but they are each have a different purpose. So I'm just putting that chart out to just so we understand. They each have a different purpose in mind, and there are benefits to each one of them. I'd like to see more businesses that are a result of proving something, because the blockchain is about proving. Because the blockchain is really about, this is in the book, by the way, this table. The blockchain is about proving that the identity of this person is the right one, that this particular event happened at this particular time, that this house is owned by this particular person, because it's a great record-keeping capability. It offers a chain of custody that is immutable. So I'd like to see more applications that use the blockchain to check on something. What is going to be the Google of the blockchain? In May of this year, I wrote an article in TechCrunch called, the title was, Blockchain is the next Google. And the next day, I got an email from Google. And they invited me to come and talk to them at the Googleplex. So I did that in July, and they taped it. It's part of the talks at Google. It was a longer talk, so you can go on YouTube and watch it. Because visibly, Google is not doing too much in the area of blockchain. Maybe it won't be Google. Maybe it'll be Google or some other. Maybe it'll be a number of companies. I'd like to be able to go somewhere, and instead of searching for information, searching for truth. Is this really correct? Is this true? Does this person own this thing? Is this person really who they say they are? The other thing to think about the blockchain is that blockchains are going to be like websites. We don't think of them today as such, but I predict we're going to have millions of blockchains in the future, in the same way as we have millions of websites. What was the first thing that companies did when the websites came along? The question was, what can we publish on the website? That was the first thing that companies did. They said, oh, let's put our brochures on the website. And then it went from there. So now this is replaced by another question, which is, what can we expose on the blockchain? Is it on the blockchain? We're going to be able to say, well, if it's something that the public should know about, let's put it on the blockchain and let people check it. I remember the first time that FedEx allowed us to track shipments on the web. That was a big aha moment. That was in '95. That was a big aha moment. Now you don't think about